Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I have a video all about my labor and delivery. This little boy into the world, Mr. Ty. You gonna say hi, Ty? It looks like he's trying to say hey. So I had Ty July the 19th 2018 at 2 o'clock in the morning. He actually was a surprise to us because I was 37 weeks when I had him, and he did not want to wait. My actual due date was August the 7th, so yeah, he came about 3 weeks early. So I'm just going to start off by, I guess, my last doctor's appointment. I went in for my doctor's appointment at 36 weeks. And that was a Tuesday. I did a cervical check to see if I was dilated, which I was not dilated at all. So I kind of feel like I was going to go like way over time, but I mean, I was 36 weeks. Usually some people do be dilated at that time, but so as time went on, I want to say I started to really get uncomfortable and started to have pain. It was Sunday. I started having pain. It was more like back pain. I didn't know I was in labor or was having contractions at the time. I just thought I was having really bad back pain where it was so uncomfortable. I remember my husband and I was coming back from the store, and I was in the car and I could not sit back in the chair. I could not. I was sitting up, kind of like almost balled up and putting pressure on my back. And that pretty much went on throughout the whole car ride. And when I got home, I feel like it was gone. But Monday was fine. I went to work. This was supposed to be my last week of work. So Tuesday came around and the pain really got bad. I want to say early Tuesday morning, I woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I got on, do my routine. I get on the couch and lay down. And I kind of like started taking my hair down because I was going to wash my hair and get ready for work that day. So I was taking my hair down because I was just so irritated. Everything was just like irritating me, like the pain and not being able to sleep and just exhausted, and I was just so irritated. I was like, let me take this hair out of my head. Actually, if you check out my previous video about the locks, the bay locks, that was the style I had in, and I was planning on doing my hair like this for labor and delivery, but that did not happen. So I ended up taking my hair down, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, this pain is really getting bad. After I took my hair down and I was getting ready to take out my braids to wash my hair, I'm like, this pain is like very intense. I'm like, I don't know, am I in labor? I was like, let me Google it. So I'm Googling, trying to see symptoms of labor, and which a lot of it was like I was having a back pain, but I wasn't having anything that stood out more than that. But the back pain was very severe, but that was the only symptom I felt like that really stood out, and I was like, I think I'm in labor. So I end up just laying on the couch a little bit longer, trying to get past the pain. And yeah, I had spoke to my husband that morning, and I was saying, I think the pain is pretty intense. I don't know if I'm in labor. I don't think I'm gonna make it to work today. I'm just gonna stay at home, rest it out, and try to get in with my OB to see how things are going. So I called in. I told my boss that I was really having really bad back pain. I don't think I'm going to make it in today, and I was going to go see my doctor. Rest a little bit more on the couch. My husband went on to work, and I say this was around by about 6 o'clock. It had been already an hour since my husband left. And I was like, this pain is very intense. It was getting so bad where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm going to make it to even call the doctor's office, because it was like they weren't open yet. So I called my mom, tell her that I think I'm having contractions. And she's like, how far apart are they? And I'm like, I think they're about I felt like they were every 2 minutes or so. At first they started probably like every 5 minutes, and they got stronger or whatever, like every 2 minutes or so. And I'm like, Mom, I'm like, I don't think I can keep going like this. I think I need to get to the hospital. I was gonna wait to see if I can get in my doctor's office, but I don't think I can make it. So my mom was like, okay, I'm gonna get dressed and come over. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hop in the shower and get dressed. So I do that. My mom gets there, and then we head over to the hospital. So that was around by 7 o'clock, I think. We got to the hospital, probably about 7:30, 7:30ish. We got to the hospital, and my mom calls everybody. My sisters are all excited and going crazy, and I call my husband, and he gets up there, I want to say probably like an hour or so after we got there. So, and I get checked in, and they get me all hooked up on the monitors, checking baby heartbeat, checking the contractions, and they come in and do a cervical check, and I'm not even dilated. I was having really bad back pain, and I was having contractions because on the monitors you can see they were coming every 2 minutes. They were like non-stop every 2 minutes. But I pretty much have not dilated. She said I was barely a 1, and she said the cervix did feel soft, so I was making some type of progress from the last cervical check at my OB's office. So I sat there, and they wanted to continue to monitor me, although I was not dilated, but I was having contractions. So I think they were trying to just see how that play off, and they wanted to check baby heart rate to see how he was handling the contractions, which he was having his heart rate was a little irregular. It was kind of dropping a little bit on some contractions, not all. They were just wanted to keep an eye on that, so they kept me in, and the doctor wanted to do an ultrasound to see how baby was, and see if baby was head down, and see how much fluid I had around baby, just to make sure that he has enough. And so they did that, and which did show that his fluid was low around him, and they did admit me in the hospital to give me more fluids. They felt that I was dehydrated, and that was the reason why I was having contractions, and they were like pretty intense contractions, like every 2 minutes. Very bad back pain. I was thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, would I make it to doing this without meds? Because I was like, I don't want to have epidural. I didn't want to have a catheter. I just had bad experience with catheters. How I always got like a UTI after having them. So I did not want to get another catheter, and I just did not want to have the epidural. I feel like I can pretty much handle the pain, or handle having the baby naturally, and I feel like my pain tolerance is pretty high, I want to say, because I always had pretty bad cramps, and everybody say, oh, contractions feel like cramps. I didn't feel cramps. My contractions were not cramps. They were pretty much bad back pain, like somebody was balling up my back, like my spine. Back to the hospital stay. I was in the hospital, and doctors wanted to keep monitoring me and watch the baby, and also give me fluids to see if that kind of slowed down my contractions, because they really didn't want me to deliver at 37 weeks, although baby is full term at 37 weeks. But they just want the baby stay in longer. They want the baby stay in as long as he can. It's just to maximize the health. So I stay in the hospital. They come in between that time. I was in there from 7:30ish to about 5:30, and I did make some progress with my cervix, but I did not change much from the 1, and the contractions did slow down. So the doctor did come in and say discharge me, because I'm pretty much not really in active labor. So they sent me home, and I was not having any contractions. They kind of like, they slowed down and wasn't as painful. So I went home, my husband and I went home. We ate our dinner. I was able to finally lay down and rest, and I got some sleep. I think around by 8 o'clock that night, 8 or 9 o'clock is when I woke up with that same back pain. I feel like it was a little bit more intense than early that morning. I didn't want to go into the hospital too soon because I feel like, okay, if I'm really in labor, let me just wait it out, because I'm not sure how far I'm dilated. I'm going to try to labor more at home. So I get on the couch. I pretty much lay down on the couch and I kind of lay there, and then I actually come into the baby's room, his room, and kind of lay down, and I laid in the bed some time and kind of rocked back and forth. And I think I kind of dozed off in between some of those contractions, but I feel like I was pretty much up the whole time. My husband, when he got up and got ready, he really didn't have to go to work that day, but he did have to go run one little errand for work, and he was going to be back. So I told him I felt like I was okay, because I kind of got up, and I was got up out the bed. I actually got in a tub, which really helped a lot with that warm water. Pretty much made the water pretty warm and sat in there, and I feel like contractions pretty slow. They slowed down a whole lot being in the water, and I pretty much laid in there. I also took a nap. And my husband, I told him he can go ahead and run his errand, and I think I'll be fine until he gets back. So I feel like as soon as he left the door, my contractions like got really strong, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And I'm calling him like, oh, you have to hurry up, come back. And then I'm like, he's like, I'm almost done. And so I'm like, oh, let me call my mom. So I call my mom, and I'm calling her, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna be getting ready. I'm getting ready now. And if you know my mom, she is not a fast person. Get ready. So she was supposed to come and get me, but my husband was already done with his errand. That's how slow my mom is. He was done and was able to come back home, and we went on to the hospital. But she did meet us up at the hospital with my sister and my nephew. So they get me all checked in, and I get back into the room, in the triage room, and they get me hooked up. And I was so thankful that I had the same midwife from the day before. She came and checked me. She was very nice, and she remembered how much pain I was in the day before, and then she checked me, and then I was not even more, I was still a 1. So when she checked me, I was still a 1, but she said I was 80% effaced, which I made some progression. The contractions were still coming pretty strong, and they had me hooked up to the monitor, and they was still concerned about his heart rate that was kind of dropping a little bit. So they kept me in there, monitored me there. I want to say I got in the hospital. We checked in the hospital around, I want to say it was about 6 o'clock, 6:30ish. We got into the hospital. So I sat there in triage while they monitored me. Then the doctor on call came in, and he was saying, okay, we know you're only just 1 centimeter dilated, but we know you came in yesterday, and these contractions are really not letting up. So we're going to keep you in just to monitor you, see how things go. And I felt like the midwife, she really talked to him to keep me there, and I was so thankful that she did that, because I didn't think I can go home with that pain I was having. That pain was so intense in my back, and then it started to kind of wrap around my stomach. Yeah, so the nurses, no one had told me I couldn't really eat anything, so I did try to eat some breakfast, which did not sit well with my tummy. I threw it up. The pain was so intense. I think the pain was one reason why I could not keep it down. Yeah, and the nurse came and said, no, you can't be eating anything. I was so hungry. But yeah, so I get moved over to my room, and I want to say there was around, I mean, the hospital, y'all, when you stay in the hospital, they come in and check on you, but it's like hours in between the check-ins. And it's like, I'm like, okay. I think I sat there. I didn't get moved over to my room until about 10 o'clock ish. I got moved to a different room. Midwife came in and kind of explained the procedure they were going to do for me. They were going to go ahead and kind of induce me. I know they give a lot of people the Cervidol, which kind of softens up the cervix and dilate it. She felt like I was a good candidate for a different option where it's called the Foley. It's called the Foley balloon catheter, which they put like a catheter into your cervix, and they fill it up with saline, like I think saline or water into it. And what it does, it's open up your cervix, and you're gonna be at least about 3 centimeters dilated once the balloon fall out. They said it takes about 3 hours for that to work, and then they were gonna see from there. If I'm 3 centimeters dilated, then they'll go ahead and go with the Pitocin if I need it alongside. They did the procedure where they put the balloon catheter in, and which I want to say that was like painful itself. I don't want to say it was painful. It was more uncomfortable once the balloon kind of like was really working. I want to say, well, I don't want to say that when it was really working, because I was having those contractions. So it was just, everything was so uncomfortable to me. Like, I was so uncomfortable with the monitors on the baby. Like, I was so uncomfortable sitting in that bed the whole time because every time I got up out the bed, like the monitors would fall off, or they couldn't hear the baby's heartbeat, so they're like, oh, we need to get you back in the bed. I just felt so uncomfortable. So once they put the balloon in there, and they actually put that in you, and it's like a long tube that's connected with it, and it's kind of like taped. They taped it to my thigh, and it was just like a bloody mess because one end had blood coming out of it. I mean, I know this is TMI, and I had to kind of like get up, go to the restroom with it there, and also one thing I was having, every time I had a contraction, I had to pee. So I went to the restroom a lot. It was like peeing. I guess the pressure itself from the baby head, it was like on my bladder, and I like had to go to the bathroom so much. I went to the restroom, and the little balloon popped out in the room, in the bathroom, on the floor. I mean, it was a bloody mess. It's horrible. I know I'm laughing at it now, but it's like the things us women we go through, man. It's like men could not handle this. They could not handle it. Like, we are strong body people, good gracious. So that fell out. So I called the nurse in. They got me back in the bed. We got it all cleaned up. And this time, when I'm talking about when that thing came out, I'm like, hey, I need some pain medicine. I need something. I need something. These contractions are so bad. They were like, I was having more in my back. I feel like if I wasn't having back pain, the back pain was so painful. If I wasn't having that, I think I probably could have dealt with it. You know, some people say, oh, contractions feel like cramps, menstrual cramps, and they did not feel like that to me. They felt like somebody was just balling up my back. Told the nurse, and please, I need something for pain. Gave me the fentanyl, I think that's what it's called, to kind of help with the contractions, and I feel like it helped some. It didn't really help with the pain. I feel like it just kind of helped get my mind off of it, and that medicine made me so ill. But I just feel so bad because I was just like so nauseous, and it was the pain. The pain was really was really intense, and that's also another symptom of labor, vomiting. So I was like pretty much vomiting the whole time, and I really wasn't eating anything. I was just eating ice chips. Around 5 o'clock, that's when they did do another cervical check, and I was like about 5, she said I was about 5 centimeters dilated, And that's when I was like, okay, I think I need to get the epidural. I don't think I can continue with this pain. And it pretty much it started to get really intense, where I feel like I had to stand up out the bed and kind of rock back and forth. That was the best feeling for me, because I feel like laying in the bed, it was like my hips were hurting so bad. I can like feel like my hips like spreading apart. I don't know if that makes any sense, because when I was rocking back and forth, I can feel like every like pop and move. Gosh, it was intense, guys. So around 7 o'clock is when I got the epidural, and they were supposed to start me with the Pitocin, but the maternity ward was so busy that day. I mean, it was pretty much busy the day before too, and it was so busy that night. It was so many women having babies back to back, and actually they could not start me with the Pitocin because they had too many women like in active labor, where everybody's gonna like actually had a baby at the same time, and they only had like I think one doctor that was delivering that day, and so they could not give me a Pitocin. But my body was still contracting on its own. I felt like I didn't need the Pitocin also. So they came in and did the epidural, which they had my sister and my husband was there. They had them leave out the room, and because they want like I guess they wanted kind of to be clean and no germs, because it's something that's going in your spine. You don't want to get any germs into your spine. So they asked them to leave out the room, which I was fine, because the nurse I had, she was very nice, and I felt very comfortable with her. So had to lean forward and hold and she actually kind of put the bed up really high where my feet were like dangling, and she and I was like leaning forward on her, and the doctor that was on my epidural was really nice, and they pretty much went over everything and what they were going to do. It wasn't really hard to stay still. I was able to kind of stay still through the contractions, because I'm like, I don't want anybody messing up my spine, because I already didn't want to get the epidural, but the pain was so intense. I feel like I could not I could not make it. I needed some time to rest and relax. I'll be able to have some energy to push my baby out. So as they placed the epidural in, like she said you may get some type of jolt down your leg, and which I did get down my right leg. And a lot of times in my pregnancy, my right leg got numb a lot. So I feel like he was like on a nerve that made my right leg pretty much numb. My upper thigh, my right thigh was pretty much numb a lot of times. So that wasn't a surprise that leg actually was the one that I got the jerk and pain in because of how your nerves run. The epidural wasn't that painful. I pretty much can say it wasn't that painful. Kind of laid in the bed and it started to work. My left leg was pretty numb. My right leg was like tingling still. It wasn't numb all the way. I did get the nurse in, and they came in and checked, and she had the anesthesiologist come back, and he did some tests, and then he did see that my right leg was not numb, and so he gave me a little bit more of the medicine, which it really helped, because then that leg was numb. And I wasn't surprised that I was having a problem with that leg, because just like I said, I had some numbness in my right thigh during my pregnancy. I feel like he was like on a nerve. Maybe it just wasn't in the right spot. Came in and did another check, I want to say around probably about 8 o'clock-ish, 8 or 9-ish. And she did a check, and she was like, well, I'm only like a 5 or 6. And I'm like, oh my gosh, really? I was like a 5 or 6 like an hour before that. And I'm like, that can't be, you know, it can't be right. And she's like, no, it is, the nurse said. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just taking too long, you know. I was about ready for him to come. I was exhausted. I was tired. I've been in labor for, 2 days already. I want to say I was sleeping. I was kind of resting a little bit in bed. My mom and my sister, my 2 sisters were there. My dad came. and his fiance, they were there. We were kind of like a lot of people. It was a full house. We were like sitting around talking, and then all of a sudden I felt like a pop, and my water broke, and that was around about 10 o'clock. My water broke, and so she came in and checked, and she did confirm that my water did break. I was just laying there talking with my mom, my sisters, and my husband. We were just all talking and saying how, oh, we can't wait, and everybody's excited. And I started to feel like this intense pressure, like a pressure to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that's the pressure that everybody says, like you would know when it's time to push. And it kind of went away in between contractions, and then it got to the point where it was like there and it was not going away. And I remember saying like, oh my gosh, I feel like I got to push. And so my sister would call a nurse, and we would call a nurse, and we couldn't get a nurse to come in. Like finally, about 5 or 10 minutes, a nurse came in, and she came and checked. And when she checked me and I was looking at her eyes, I can see her eyes got wide, like wow, because I went from 5 to barely 6 centimeters to a 10 centimeters within 3 hours. So she was like, okay, we're going to prepare to get the doctor in. And I feel like once she left the room, it's like the pressure was still coming. Like it was like, okay, I feel like I have to push. I kept telling her I have to push, I have to push. And they were getting the doctor in. It's like, okay, the doctor's finishing up on another patient. She'll be in shortly. She'll be in. She's right here. She's right outside the door on her way in. I get all prepared. They have me all ready to push. And my mom and my 2 sisters were there, and my husband was like right on my right side. He was holding my leg back, and they had one of the nurse on the left side holding my leg. And so it was go time. So I started pushing, and I felt like my epidural kind of like was wearing off, because I could feel him coming out, and it wasn't painful. It wasn't as painful, I think, if I did not have some of the medicine. My mom, my sisters, everybody was in the room, and good coachers, you know, in the room with me, and they were like, push, push, we see his head. You know, when they saying that, you're like, okay, you're getting excited and you push. And just like people say, it's not, you don't push like from your vagina, you kind of like push from your butt, like you're pooping, because that's what it feels like. It feels like you have a big poop you had to do. You know, it feels like you really have to get it out. It's like non-stop. It's like, because when I was telling the doctor I had to push, and it's like I can feel my body she was like, don't push, don't push, don't push, but I can feel my body was pushing for me. It was like, and I'm like grunting, I'm like, it's just like if you're having a bowel movement and you can't hold it, you gotta go. And it's just exactly how your body, it's just amazing how our bodies are made for it, you know. So my body's like naturally pushing for itself. Really good. I was getting all the encouragement, and everybody saying, you're doing so good, you're doing so good, you're pushing perfect. I probably think I pushed like 20 minutes or so. It wasn't long at all. I did like 3 rounds of 3s, and then he came right out.
Keep pushing, Mom. Don't stop pushing, okay?
Congratulations, Hi. You can rest it on there. Make sure she doesn't drop her leg. Okay? You get a towel up on Mom. You get a warm towel up on Mom. Thank you. Hello. Hi. It's a beautiful baby boy. Hi.
Congratulations.
Hi. Yes. You're very cute.
I can't get your gown all the way out.
Hi.
We're going to rub him, get him dry, and try to get him,
Happier.
happier.
Excuse me. Hi. What's his name?
Ty.
There we go. You okay? Congratulations. There we go. Excellent.
Here's your warm. Here's your warm. keep rubbing her.
Hey, baby boy. Hey, Mr. Ty.
There should be one in the kit. If she's doing private donation, they always have one in the kit.
Hey, my baby.
It was just so amazing. He was finally out. He was born at 2 o'clock in the morning on the dot, weighing 6 pounds 7 ounces, and healthy as can be, and everything was perfect on him. He was so perfect. I did have some tearing, so I did have to get some sutures. I think I had 2nd degree tear. Yeah guys, that was my labor and delivery story. I kind of feel like I rambled all over the place and I may have forgot some things. This little guy is now 8 weeks old. So I can't believe I had him 8 weeks ago. He's been such a joy in our lives. We've been so happy. I feel my life is pretty much complete now that he's here with us. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna try to put out more videos like this about lifestyle videos. I also want to put a video about my journey to pregnancy as well, because we did do IVF for our pregnancy. So I will also make a video all about that, and maybe down below if you guys have any questions about that, put some questions down there about the whole process. If you want to know anything about it, and I can answer those in that video as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.